Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option Podcast. Hello. We are live. I'm hoping everything works right now. I can't hear myself, but we should be good here in a second. I am Andrew Pasquini. This is the Sprint Ride Option Podcast, part of the Blue Wire Hustle Network. Jason Aponte to my right, as always, and I still don't think I can hear. So, Jason, I'm going to take a second, make sure I get everything figured out. What's going on? Give me a minute while I figure it out.
Yeah, so sorry that we're a little bit late. I just hopped off of Rob Shoes podcast, which I implore all of you guys to go ahead and follow on YouTube and subscribe. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please do me a big favor. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you know when we go live after post game, both sprint ride options during the week. A lot of content on the channel, but here to talk about a big win, the biggest win for the 49ers this season so far until the next one. But this one definitely was the biggest one.
So some would say the biggest one. Yes, and Jason, you can hear me. Just want to make sure we're good.
Sir.
You can hear me. We are here. And that's literally what I wanted to open up with. The biggest win of the season for the San Francisco 49ers. And it was a game where we got a little bit of both versions of the 49ers that we've seen all season. We got a little bit of the bad 49ers. It started off very slow. The second half, they really cleaned things up. The offense really started clicking. As a whole, I don't want to diminish anything of how big of a win that was, so I'm not going to say anything negative about certain things, about some quarterback play in the first half. Other than that, I thought it was a very good game from the 49ers as a whole.
Well, I think that we should talk about that because what I want to talk about that, and the reason I want to talk about it is the 49ers have a clear script that they want to go to, but this is the National Football League, and good teams don't always have those scripts happen. There's no perfect world in the NFL. So I think that you have to talk about that because the game wasn't going the way that they wanted it to. The 49ers were down 14-7. There was obviously that interception, but that's the mark of a good team. A team that when things are not going to plan, you find a way to get it done, get back to what you want to do, and you finish the job. I think that is why you should talk about it, and that's what makes this win all the more impressive. Look, running over the Rams, running over the Jaguars, that's exactly what you wanted to do, and it probably wasn't even like they were even surprised that they were that able, easily to do it. But in this game, when things are not going your way and you're able to overcome certain things, I think that's what makes this win the most impressive because it definitely didn't go the way that they thought it would in the beginning.
No, not at all. As I said, like a very slow start from the offense, and it's not really a rip on anybody. It's just kind of what it was. I believe the Niners at some point were behind 14-7. It kind of felt like if the first half didn't instill very much confidence in how the game actually ended up going. The defense, I know they gave up a good amount of points. It happens. It's a good Vikings offense. I thought the defense played very well. We got another punch out from Peanut Norman. That's just what we're going to call him now. Doesn't do much in coverage, but hey, he can punch that ball out whenever he needs to. Little things like that. Azeez Al-Shaair probably had his best game of the season. Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah.
Things like that. Another player who had his best game of the season, I know we don't say his name on this podcast, Tom Compton. He was out there. He was pretty good at the right tackle. Just a lot of very good individual parts. But yeah, man, as Jason said, the game could not have started worse for the 49ers. It kind of felt like it took them a while to get going. And I kind of have a theory on that we'll dive into later. But yeah, man, it was another game that showed why Devo Samuel is the most important part of this offense, most important part of this team. Obviously, they don't have him against Seattle. That's a Friday episode thing. But Jason, I guess we'll start. What was your biggest takeaway, individual standpoint, whatever you want to call it, from the Niners yesterday?
Just the impressive way that you got punched, things weren't going your way, you punched back and you were able to get right back and do what you wanted to do. That game swung right when they scored it before the half, scored right after the half. That's how you draw it up. Then you get the Azeez Al-Shaair interception, put some respect on that man. And that's why when you said that we were disrespecting Dre Greenlaw, we were bigging up Azeez Al-Shaair. There's a big difference. And then they score again. The game starts to flow the way that you thought it would. Put the Seahawks, see what I'm already thinking about? Put the Vikings in a position that they didn't want to be in, which is taking away the run in terms of that, which is something that the 49ers tried to focus in on and stop. And it put them right back in the driver's seat of the game. So, and that's going to be my biggest takeaway. This game is not perfect. This league is not going to be easy. You're not just going to roll people over like that every week. There's going to be teams that are going to punch you. Can you punch back? And can you get things back on track? The 49ers did that, and that was my biggest takeaway in this game.
Yeah, and Chris, really echoing your point, beating good teams like the Rams was great, but when you beat a team that puts your back against the wall and slaps you around a bit more, it's more impressive, and very, very much so. Like, as fun as that Rams win was, as much fun as we had, this is, as Jason opened the show up with, this is the win of the year for the 49ers. This was not an easy game whatsoever, and it never was going to be. I tweeted right before the game that this game screams tie to me. Because that's just how much I felt the Niners and Vikings. I almost said Seahawks too. We're looking forward to that in a little bit. Aren't we? The Vikings, that's who they are, and they're just kind of the same team as the Niners. And the big key to me, man, is I said it on Friday when we previewed it. There's Seattle Jordan. Hey, what's up, Seattle Jordan? Seattle Jordan's here. I was worried about the Niners defense being able to force turnovers, and they forced 2, both on first plays of drives, to put the Niners right into field position to score. And I believe they executed touchdowns on both of those situations, if I'm remembering correctly. So that's something I noticed, man, is the defense. Yeah, as I said, yes, they gave up a bunch of points. The 26 points is a good amount. It should have been a couple more. I think they messed up a 2-point conversion or missed a PAT or something. But when the game came down to it, the defense held its own.
Yeah, and that's it. The defense was solid. Obviously, we knew that this game was going to have points scored on Minnesota side, and that's just based on their weapons and the way that Kirk Cousins has been playing. Like, it's just, you had to expect points to happen, right? And we worried if the pass rushes are going to get there for a large part of this game. It was only Nick Bosa that was really happening, that this team was going to be able to score points, and they did. And they put I think that, like, Andrew was like maybe 2 points away from the correct prediction. Like, we knew the 49ers were going to be able to score. We knew that they were going to have to score. So I think, or that we knew that they were going to score, and they did. And I think, again, the 49ers made enough stops. Impressive play by Azeez Al-Shaair. Staple, Kevin Givens was somebody who stood out, made a big play on the Dalvin Cook, injury, which that sucks, man. I hope that he's okay. But at the same time, man, again, making enough stops, sign of a good team, being able to finish games off. The game would have been iced. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. But
I wasn't going to say his name.
But it didn't get iced. So there was one more drive. Obviously, the 49ers defense stomped that off. But it would have been really cool to see that drive not really matter as much. It was, for everybody's blood pressure. But, hey, not to nitpick. It's fine. Special teams as a whole had a tough game. Kickoff return, that's another thing that happened in this game. Mitch Wisnowski not downing punts in, getting them everything into the end zone. So, again, all facets, you're not always going to play a perfect game. Things are not always going to be perfect, but you always have to find a way to win the game. And I think that if you would have told me that this team would be able to do this a few weeks ago when I was jumping off the bridge with, my season's over take, I would have said there's no way, because things need to be perfect.
Yeah. And I mean, look, Jason's just absolutely right on all of it. This wasn't a game that 3-4 weeks ago, like I remember it's so funny how much things change in the NFL, and that's something Jason Aponte has been preaching all year. The NFL is a week-to-week league, and a month ago we're looking at the schedule saying the Bears, the Cardinals, the Rams, the Vikings, or Jacksonville's in there, but Jacksonville's not in there. And you say, well, hopefully they can beat the Bears. They're probably not going to beat the Cardinals. They're probably not going to beat the Rams. They're probably not going to beat the Vikings. And now all of a sudden you look at their schedule and it's like, yeah, Seattle, that should be a win. Then they got Atlanta. That's a team going for a wild card spot. That should be a win, things like that. And it's just so crazy how much the team has changed. The team has absolutely changed. The feeling of this team has changed. A lot of that has to do with how the quarterback's been performing, but it just really feels like we have gotten, over the last 5 weeks, the closest version we've seen to the 2019 Niners that we've seen since the 2019 Niners.
Yeah, and that's 3 in a row, 4 of the last 5. And for all the people like us that wanted Trey Lance to start, this isn't going to happen as long as they're winning games. And you can say whatever you want about how Jimmy Garoppolo's been playing. Obviously, when you look back, there's some throws that he missed, fine, but he did enough. They win again. They keep winning when he's starting. And as long as that happens, I don't know. You're not going to see Trey. Like, it's just not going to happen. So,
Jamaican boy, thank you for the donation. Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, Mitch missing the tackle.
I was told he was a great tackler.
That's I didn't want to get to that point, but yeah, that is what it is. Big Des, thank you too. I give Shanahan some credit. Came off his high horse, started calling an easier gameplay and running the clock. Ryan calling some good streams also. Yeah, very much so. I agree.
One more thing I wanted to point out. I was just on Rob Shu's podcast, and he made a good point, right? Shout out to him. You need to subscribe to his podcast as well too. Amazing clarity on his camera, and his radio voice is incredible. The guy's so super knowledgeable. But it almost felt like after the Jimmy Garoppolo interception, and you see Kyle Shanahan cursing at Jimmy Garoppolo, that it kind of snapped back in his head. Oh, okay, yeah, we're getting right back to the run game. Like, we're not going to mess around, and this is and it almost felt like that was a wake-up call, because it didn't start that way. They start out with a few passes, and everybody's like, what on earth are you doing? So I don't want to say that he needed that, but it definitely helped that interception happened that quickly, because Kyle Shanahan said, oh, okay, now we're going right back to running the ball. And I think that was kind of a wake-up call.
Can I spit my theory out that I kind of teased at the start? I want to see what you think.
Go for it.
So a lot of people are complaining that Kittle wasn't as involved. No, I'm not. God, Dylan, thank you. I appreciate the question. I love you, Dylan. God, Christ, man. So my theory here is, and this might take a second of explaining. I need Jason. If you tell me I'm wrong, I'll never mention this again. People have been talking about the little targets George Kittle saw on yesterday. I'm starting to think that drive to drive, Kyle Shanahan has a set of plays that he has the comfort level of where he has Jimmy Garoppolo at. And it comes down to who the best performing receiver is at the time. And Debo Samuel has been very good. And that's why he's gotten the brunt of this, right? He's gotten a brunt of this offense. So the base level of the offense is it's going to Debo. And maybe the past couple of weeks it's switched because Ayuk's gotten a lot more targets than Debo. Then the second layer is I need him comfortable enough where we can get Ayuk involved. And then the third layer is, okay, now we can get Kittle going, because the things we do in the offense with Kittle are a little different. I don't know, man. I'm trying to make sense of the lack of Kittle targets yesterday. But maybe it's a drive-to-drive comfort level of where Kyle Shanahan feels Jimmy Garoppolo is. And that's when, if he's not feeling very comfortable, that's when Ayuk's getting more targets or Debo's getting more targets. And when he's feeling more comfortable, that's when Kittle's getting it. That's just my theory that I'm throwing out there with no base.
No, and I like it because that kind of coincides with what I was talking about. When Kyle's yelling at Jimmy, he realizes, okay, that's it. We're not gonna start to push the ball. We're not gonna do this. We're just gonna get back to basics. And what does George Kittle offer? Is if we're gonna run the ball, the blocking that he offers is invaluable. And I agree with you. It takes certain plays out of the playbook. It's like once, because it was the second play of the game, and for some reason, Seattle Jordan kind of reminds me of San Francisco Jordan or San Jose Jordan, because he posted a play. It was the second play of the game. George Kittle's running free in the middle of the field, and it's a little bit of a deeper shot. But if Jimmy Garoppolo gets it in his area, it is not only a big gain, it might be a touchdown. And when you see that not get hit, and then the interception happens, it's okay. We're taking this out now. We can't go to it. So I agree with you in that portion of it. And again, we are speculating, but it sure feels like that. When that happened, Kyle Shanahan was upset, man, upset. And Jimmy Garoppolo, hey, he responded well. Say what you want about him yelling. He responded well, and that was it. He was fine for the rest of the game. I do want to say this. The second half, Jimmy Garoppolo made some throws, man. He was in the pocket getting hit. He made some throws. That touchdown that was almost to Jennings that he didn't get his shin down, whatever it was, that was a dart. So, I mean, again, that I think is what is the maddening experience with Jimmy Garoppolo, is for all of those other throws and reads that you see missed, there are so many other throws that you're like, look, there it is. Why can't we get that consistently? And I think that's the point. But let's take this contribution right here. Oh, yeah, Chris, thank you very much. With Debo out for the game, do we need the defense to be the reason we win? Our offense is never very successful against Seattle, especially in Seattle. Yeah, and I mean that gets a little tougher because literally all the linebackers not named Azeez Al-Shaair are hurt right now. And so like obviously I know Fred Warner's not having his best year, but he's still the heart and soul of this defense.
I would say losing Fred Warner to the defense is more important than Debo Samuel's loss to the offense. And I know that sounds wild because Debo's been so good, but like I trust Kyle Shanahan. Like now I think Ayuk's going to get more involved, even more involved than he has the past couple of weeks. We had a little bit of a Trent Sherfield sighting yesterday. So maybe Sherfield gets more involved against Seattle. I don't know right now. I think my brain is too focused on the Minnesota game to really think about it. I don't know what the loss of Debo and what the loss of Fred Warner is going to specifically look like against the Seahawks. I think it obviously makes it significantly tougher. Now, am I saying is it going to make Seattle the team I think is going to win? I don't know. Jason, maybe you can fill me in on that. But yes, DFF.
Did I say
I forgot about
good?
DFF. I apologize.
Did I say he was good at any moment in this podcast? I mean,
I forgot DFF when I mentioned the linebackers, and
I didn't even mention his name.
I don't know why Jason's getting yelled at, but
yeah, I don't get it, guys. If you want to yell at me for my Javonte Williams over Elijah Mitchell take, you can, but I literally didn't say anything about this. So I don't know why you're yelling at me, Matthew.
So I think it's a little too early to worry about what it means for the Seattle game, at least in terms of this podcast. We'll have full thoughts on that on Friday. So to get to that, yes. I think the defense is going to have to step in, but with Fred Warner gone, it creates a thing. And so Jason, I want to go back to your point about Garoppolo, and it wasn't even the second half. His good throws started right before the first half ended. I mean, he had that bullet to Ayuk for 24 yards right before the touchdown to Jennings. And I mean, you want to talk about a huge switch in the game. Minnesota's up 14-7. The Niners score with 18 seconds left in the first half to make it 14-14. The Niners then go down and score a touchdown on their opening drive of the second half. So they complete the 2-for-1, go up 21-14, and then Cousins has the interception. Niners score a touchdown the very next play. So that's a 21-point swing right there. So yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, very good starting in the first half. And I felt like maybe he responded very well to whatever Shanahan said after that first drive.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, you can nitpick on the way that he treats players or whatever, but if the result is what you want, then that's it. You really can't nitpick it or anything like that. I mean, obviously, a lot of us had issues with the way that he was handling Brandon Ayuk, but look what he's been doing. And he yelled at Jimmy, and Jimmy got in shape, and that was it. And he made some throws in that second half. Man, he stood in the pocket. He took some hits. That offensive line was getting pushed around, particularly on the right side. Brunskill had a game that was a little bit rough, man. He gave up a bunch of pressures. Even Trent Williams gave up pressures in this game.
Yeah,
and that's really crazy to think that they didn't have many edge rushers and they didn't have their whole defensive line intact. But this offensive line, they kind of took a beating yesterday. Even, Trent Williams gave up a QB hit. I had no idea that was even possible. I thought that was something that you could just make up. Like, it's not something that's real. So, yeah, I think that he responded well, and that's it. And as long as they win games, just find a way to have more points at the end of the game than the other team, and then you worry about the rest later on. So if you have concerns with certain things that are going on in the offense that could rear its head in other games, that's fine, but you really can't nitpick wins when they happen this way. And Jimmy Garoppolo played fine down the stretch.
Yeah, and maybe a large part of that is, I mean, how many times can we say it, Jason, the running attack? Devo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell combined that's 33 carries for 199 yards. Elijah Mitchell obviously getting the brunt of it, 27 carries for 133. Debo having 2 touchdowns on the ground, which I think I tweeted out that Fox said the first receiver to have 5 rushing touchdowns in a season. The PFF chart I saw had Taysom Hill listed as a receiver, and he had 8 touchdowns last year. So whatever you want to see it, however you want to say it, Debo Samuel's having a historical year on the ground. And Jason, we could finally, I wish I bought those poppers. Debo Samuel over 1,000 yards receiving on the season.
There it is, man. It only took 7 quarters when it should have happened. So here, let's take this question real quick from Adam. What's up with the Jalen Moore situation? It seems to me that we kind of cautioned of this whole, hey, anybody can play right tackle when they've never played right tackle. And here we are. Tom Compton's your starter. Mm-hmm. Seems like we told you about that. It's not flag football. It's not Pop Warner. You can't just play left tackle and then switch over to right tackle. Fortunately, he got benched in Jacksonville, and they can't live with those bumps and bruises right now because they are trying to win games. Yeah. So in this regard, yeah, Kyle Shanahan is mitigating his risk and playing a guy that, hey, Tom Compton was fine. I know we make a lot of jokes about him and everything. He was fine in this game. He was fine. You didn't really hear his name called too much, but this is it. Jalen, they don't want to stick with Jalen Moore and take the lumps anymore.
Mhm.
He had problems with stunts. He had problems with protections in Jacksonville, and it was evident, and he got benched, and that's it. Kyle Shanahan is done with the whole rookie experience, and that's it. It's Tom Compton's show now. That's it, man.
Yeah, and it's it is what it is. You don't want to lose McGlinchey. This is why you don't want to lose McGlinchey, because McGlinchey's very good and people don't give enough credit. And then BV50 asked, is Fred's injury serious? He's out 1 to 2 weeks. In terms of long-term, no, it's not serious, but he's out. And he started the last 2 games, Adam. Jalen Moore started the last 2 games, got pulled for an injury against the Rams,
Correct.
and then just got benched against the Jaguars. So
but before the second half started, he got benched when he gave up 2 pressures in a row, and he missed on stunts with Brunskill. It was really bad.
Yeah, so obviously, like, there's the issue with it. But hey, if the Niners get what they got from Tom Compton yesterday, it's not going to hurt. Tom Compton's not going to hurt you until he's going to hurt you. So we'll find out when that is. Jason, I know we've kind of touched on a little bit of everything. We haven't gone very linear. Is there any names that we haven't said yet that you want to make sure are mentioned before we move on to the next parts of the podcast?
Talanoa Hufanga in coverage, not what you want all the time. Right. Yeah, like again, you'll take the bumps and bruises. He's learning, and I'm with that as well too. I just didn't understand the whole single high thing. That second Adam Thielen touchdown, he looked like he was covering grass. He didn't know where to go, and that's a connection between Thielen and Cousins where they literally went to the space that he was not, and they threw the ball there. Mm-hmm. That's why, listen, you want to get the reps, and now he is. In Seattle, he's going to get the reps, but you need to play him much closer to the line of scrimmage. You can't have him out there trying to diagnose coverages and being forced to cover. I think that's where the mistakes are going to come in. So now that the 49ers are going to be down so many linebackers, I think you see Hufanga more in that will role and a lot closer to the line of scrimmage where he can get downhill and make plays like you saw in Jacksonville when he made that play with Tart and Ward on the field on Trevor Lawrence. You need to get him in position where he plays with instinct and he doesn't have to think too much and diagnose the coverages because he's still a little green there at this point, and it kind of reared its head in this game a little bit.
Yeah, to me, I think you have to use Hufanga at this point, at this time, just kind of specifically a linebacker. His over-the-top coverage is not what you want from a safety. And I mean, obviously it's hard to compare how actually good Hufanga is when we've been very spoiled with Wart and Tart and their ability to cover over the top, but obviously he struggles in some coverage. So maybe he's the second linebacker on Sunday against Seattle, because as we know, Warner's out, Greenlaw's probably out. And then Marcel Harris is, by the way, Marcel Harris, I noticed him a little bit at the linebacker. At least I haven't seen the tape on it. I'm gonna watch the tape guy again. That's what I'm telling my brain again. But on the TV broadcast, he looked. I noticed him in some spots that he looked like he was in the good spot. Jamaican boy, another $2 donation. Thank you. D'Amico needs to put Hufanga in spy and blitz. Yeah, things like I don't trust him in coverage. That's really the big thing.
And with Marcel Harris, now he's going through the concussion protocol. So there's a lot of injuries. And I think that what I wanted to say about Fred going into the Seattle game, because I know that that's for the preview, I would love Fred to be there for obvious reasons, but I think the calming nature, because that stadium is going to be rocking, no matter what happens in this game and what's going to be going forward, is Fred being able to calm everybody down and offer that stability. Look, we love Azeez Al-Shaair, but I would be remiss in trying to tell you that Azeez Al-Shaair is going to step right in and just be Fred Warner, because that's just not possible, and that's not expectations that you need to have at this point, because that's going to set you up for disappointment. I would love Fred to be there. It needs to be all hands on deck. That's why when Andrew said that he's more worried about Fred being missing than Debo, that doesn't sound as crazy as it is, because on defense, that's when you need that calming, hey, I'm the captain, look at me and everything, and keep everybody calm and keep everybody in their space. So I think that's where he'll be missed the most, if that makes sense. And that sounds cliche.
This is why I like Jason, is he says the things that my brain don't fully form the thoughts on, and he makes it sound so much better. In the box with Azeez, Warner, Hufanga, I would be fine with that. I think, Jason, people get it mixed up when we say Hufanga shouldn't play over Tart, that we don't like Hufanga. No. Hufanga's good in very specific spots. I like him running downhill. He is very good at that. He is an explosive player, but just I don't want him anything to do over the top right now. That's kind of where it's at.
And he just has to be a guy who plays with instinct. That's it. Obviously, the speed's not there, but if he's starting to play with instinct and he's able to break on balls, that's when he's going to be at his strength. And that's when D'Amico has to put him. He has to move him around and put him closer to the line of scrimmage just to put him in positions to win. Obviously, all those other things in coverage will come. He's going to be the starting strong safety next year. We pretty much kind of know that at this point. Jaquiski Tartt, I wouldn't expect to be back. He has a few more games left in his 49ers career, in my opinion, but it's going to be Hufanga going forward. You teach him all those things later on, but as of right now, as a playoff team, you cannot live with those mistakes at this point. And that's the whole point of Kyle Shanahan telling you, I'm not going to put guys out there just to get reps, because those are the things that cost you in big plays.
Perfect. So I think that's really it for this game specifically, unless you have anything else. I think we kind of touched on all the key
Brandon
points.
Ayuk.
I was going to mention him in a little bit because he had a very quiet 3 reception for 96-yard game. But he's very good. That's why I think in some senses he has, and maybe it's just because of Kyle Shanahan's using Debo more in the run game. I almost feel like the past couple of weeks, Debo has jumped over Samuel, at least in the internal depth chart in Kyle Shanahan's brain, which, we'll never get to see what that actually looks like, because I don't think it's a coincidence that, well, as I said, it's not a coincidence that I think because Debo's running the ball more, they're using him less in the receiving game. But I just think maybe the first 8 weeks of the season, not really using Ayuk did something, and that's what it is.
Again, we can talk about what we didn't like about how it was done, whatever. Right now, Ayuk's responding, and that's it. That's all you can ask for. And it couldn't have come at a better time, especially going into the Seattle game, because it's going to be him in this game that is going to have to shoulder the load with Debo out. I mean, he may not miss more than one game, but I don't expect Debo in this game. And I honestly, if I was the coach, which I'm not, or if I was making the decisions, I probably wouldn't risk him. Debo Samuel is too important to what you want to do going forward, right? And you know what? Depending on the outcome of this game, I don't think it'll really change the way I feel of the Seattle Seahawks, but I'm absolutely nervous for this game because whenever they play the best that they can. And Brandon Ayuk's going to have to be that person that steps up into that role and shoulders a little bit more of that offensive load, because they're already leaning on Elijah Mitchell a ton already. They cannot give him any more work at this point. Like, it's almost physically impossible. And with the way that, unfortunately, Jeff Wilson is not responding right now, whether that's his knee, whether that's whatever, he's just not playing well. Trey Sermon is going to be out for a while now in this game. So realistically, your 3 running backs going into this game, unless they pick somebody up off the waiver wire or the practice squad, Duke Johnson, it would just be Elijah Mitchell, Trenton Cannon, and Jeff Wilson, unless Jermichael Hasty can make it back. So, it's going to have to be Brandon Ayuk in this game. And thank God that he's ascending right now and playing as well as he is, because it couldn't have come at a more opportune time right now.
Joe Mama, great name.
Thank
you for the donation. Say what you want about Hufanga's coverage, but I'll take his coverage over Josh Norman's right now. Is the forced fumbles enough to keep Demo off the field?
Well, the problem is that Norman plays corner. Hufanga, you can't put him in corner. So, it's 2 different positions. But I'm glad that you brought this up, because this has been a nice talking point in the discussion, right, on Twitter. Because there is a world where people are saying, hey, look, you live with the penalties. You live with the ball going over his head because he punches the ball out. I don't know, man. I just get scared that it's going to be a game where it just is really going to get to a point where he held Justin Jefferson and still got baked. Like, he held him and he still got baked. And for a veteran, okay, cool. You're punching the ball out, but you didn't get the fumble. You punched it out. It didn't get recovered. So cool. You forced the fumble. I get it. And that's opportunistic play. But I'm just afraid that there's going to be a game where he doesn't force a fumble and all he's doing is getting cooked over his head. And I think that that's the portion that should get you a little bit nervous. At least with Lenore, if that is what's happening, you know that he's gaining reps. He's learning a little bit more. Josh Norman's not learning anything. One more thing I want to point out. Another thing that worries me about Josh Norman is less about his coverage skills and the fact that he's blowing assignments. He is just going rogue, and he is just not – people are yelling at him to switch off. K1 Williams is yelling at him to switch off. He just goes and does his own thing. Big gain for Cooper Kupp. The Mo Alley Cox touchdown, Tartt is going like this, telling him it's a switch off. Guess what he does? He runs to the line of scrimmage. Those are the plays that are going to show up. And it eventually, if you continue to do that and it doesn't get called out, will cost you down the line. So
Yes.
that's what I'm more worried about with Josh Norman. At least with Lenore, he's learning. Josh Norman seems to just be going rogue. And that's the part that scares the hell out of me. And I don't know why it's not being checked.
Yeah, and I'll just play devil's advocate, and I don't think I have a very strong case for it because I agree with everything Jason said. This is a Niner defense that struggles with forcing turnovers, and if you got a guy who's punching the ball out on regularity, it holds value. It'll like I'm not going to say that's a reason to start Norman because yeah, you're right. Norman has been very bad in coverage, and that's the nicest way I can put it. But he is creating opportunities for the 49ers defense to force turnovers, something they needed to do. So that's my very weak, just devil's advocate argument, Jason. It's not great, but it's something that does exist. That's all I really want to point out.
Yeah, and again, I'm fine with the whole veteran thing if the veteran is not costing you with penalties,
Yes.
not going rogue on simple assignments, like those switch offs. Those are things that it's not like, oh well, he's his first year in the scheme. No, that's very simple stuff. If it's a
Yeah.
rub route, then you just switch off, and all you have to do is communicate. And it seems like Josh Norman is just like, I don't care, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want, and to have it just be, hey, he's punching the ball out, so we can let all that slide. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that going forward, and
No,
especially
absolutely.
especially as the games get bigger.
Yeah, absolutely right. All right, Jason, before we get to 3 stars, I want to just new segment alert. Boop, 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 boop. Where do the 49ers sit in the playoffs? Because we can do that right now.
Wow.
Niners sit at the 6th seed at 6-5. If the season ended right now, they would be playing the Buccaneers in the first round of the playoffs. Some teams to watch out for this week. The Vikings, obviously. They're the team directly behind. They're playing the Lions this week. Go Lions, Don Burr, big fan. The Falcons and Saints are also 5-6. The Falcons have the Buccaneers, and the Saints have the Cowboys and a couple 5-7 teams after that. Not too worried about them right now because the Niners have a 2-game lead on them. So that's where the Niners sit in the playoffs. As I said, we can talk about it because it exists and it's a very real conversation that needs to be had. Jason, let's start with the 3 stars of the game for the 49ers. Do you want to go first or should I go first?
I can go first. Number 3, I'm gonna say Kevin Gibbons, and nobody's really been saying his name at all. I mean, he blows up that play. He looks like the interior pressure that they're gonna need going into this Seattle game. Hopefully, D Ford returns and they can get outside pressure, but the interior pressure is where it's going to be because Russell Wilson likes to step up into that pocket. You want to make sure that you have somebody in there who is at least obstructing his view because he doesn't want to just bail right away like Kyler Murray does. He'll at least climb the pocket and then bail. So Kevin Gibbons playing well is great because I'm excited for him because we've always seen the glimpses. And now he's playing, and he made a big play in this game, which causes Al-Shaair to get a fumble recovery. So shout out to Kevin Gibbons, man. I'm excited for you, buddy.
I'm going to go my 3rd star, Devo Samuel. Kind of the same reason as yesterday or last week. But I think 2 other players kind of outshined him this week. That's why he's my 3rd star, Jason. He didn't have a huge impact in the receiving game. Again, 4 targets, 1 reception, 12 yards. Hey, congratulations, over 1,000 receiving yards on the season. But where he impacted the game is 6 carries for 66 yards. I know a chunk of that came on, I believe, a 50-yard run they had. But 2 more touchdowns on the season. I mean, 5 rushing touchdowns for a receiver is pretty much unheard of. So he was able to impact the game where he could once again. So Devo Samuel, my 3rd star.
Nice. And shout out to Debo, man. Get well soon. And what an amazing season, man. You've just been a joy to watch, and you've just been doing everything that this team has asked. So my 2nd star, Nick Bosa. 11 sacks in 11 games at the top of the league in TFLs. PFF put out some weird stat that Hassan Reddick has like 85 sacks or 14 sacks or something like that. And it's like, no, he doesn't. Like, where are you guys getting this from? And where are you making up your stats from? But at the same time, Nick Bosa is not even all the way back at this point from the ACL. The driving force, the main focus, continues to get held and double teamed and still is dominating and I mean, what the hell can you say? Where would this pass rush be without Nick Bosa at this point with all the injuries?
11 sacks. He's halfway there with 6 games left. So we'll see what happens. A little behind pace on the all-time sack record. I'm going to go Elijah Mitchell second. He was just grossly consistent yesterday. 15 yards was his longest carry, so it's not like he ripped anything extremely long. 27 carries, 133 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, he's good. Like I don't know. Like Elijah Mitchell, like in terms of just based off of what we expected on him on the 2022 or 2021 season as a 6th-round pick, like he's obviously exceeding those expectations. And every time I get a chance to talk about how good he is, I'm gonna take it. Elijah Mitchell has if if Debo Samuel's the heartbeat of this offense, like Elijah Mitchell's the pulse. Because while Samuel's what keeps it going, Mitchell is what also keeps it alive. And if Debo isn't having a good game in the air or on the ground, because like as I said, 1 carry was for 55 yards for Debo, so that means he had 5 carries for 11 yards combined, I believe. On the other, if I'm good at math, Elijah Mitchell kept the run game alive himself. So I'm going to go Elijah Mitchell second.
Yeah, and you have to be impressed with somebody who's been thrust into this role. This is the first time Kyle Shanahan has a bell cow since he's been here. Every other year, it's been 2 and 3, 4 people, right? But this feels more not like a changing of the guard and more out of necessity. When you start to look at Jeff Wilson not playing so well, obviously Raheem Mostert gets injured, and he was going to be a driving force. Trey Sermon has not panned out. The second running back behind Elijah Mitchell is Debo Samuel. And for Elijah Mitchell to be thrust into this, have all of this on him, 30 plus touches. I'm super impressed by that. And the different ways that he's winning. He's winning on outside zones, big gains in certain games. Other games, he's in between the tackles, handling what he needs to, those tough yards. So right now, this changing of the guard and philosophy in terms of bell cow isn't necessarily something that Kyle Shanahan is like, man, let's just do this. Yeah. It is out of necessity at this point, because right now the running game doesn't have anybody else besides Debo Samuel now, who's going to be injured, who is producing at a level that's trustworthy at this point. And we love Jeff Wilson. It's just not happening right now at this point. So I'm just more impressed with the fact that it's all thrown on his plate, and he just continues to respond, man. What else can you say about Elijah Mitchell?
Yeah, you couldn't tell me he's a 6. Like if you haven't watched football before, you wouldn't be able to tell me the way he carries the ball as a guy who's a 6th-round pick in his first season. Like he's been something special. Jason, I think we might be able to do the thing. Maybe
let's do it.
Let's see. Okay, Jason Aponte, number 1 star in 3, 2, 1. Azeez Al-Shaair. There we go. Jason, go ahead, talk. Because I know you watched the tape on the defense. I haven't quite gotten there yet.
I'm just happy, man. I'm just happy because there was a lot of hate that was thrown our way when we had come out and said, hey, listen, Dre Greenlaw, you don't take Azeez Al-Shaair off the field. Now, they were both on the field at the same time. Realistically, what that does when you see the 3 linebackers is it takes K'Wan Williams off the field. And, you feel a little bit more comfortable with that because Dre Greenlaw is so good in coverage. But Azeez Al-Shaair, man, this was the coming out party. For anybody who was doubting, this is all the glimpses that you see, that you saw in this game. You saw the glimpses throughout the season. He has been as solid as they come. For him to show the growth in the pass game, that interception was very impressive to me, because what he did was he called it from the middle, and he looked right, and he read Kirk Cousins' eyes, who locked right on the Thielen. He slid as the underneath linebacker. Amazing that another quarterback missed an underneath linebacker in this game, and he made a play on the ball. And those are the type of impact plays that change games. It immediately led to an Elijah Mitchell touchdown. I am so happy for the kid, because I feel people were getting too wrapped up in the Dre Greenlaw narrative of what he did in 2019 and not recognizing what this young man has been doing this season in all facets of the game. And he did have a rough game in Arizona. The entire defense did. But Azeez Al-Shaair, this was your coming out party. 8 tackles, 7 solo. Pass defense, interception, forced fumble. I don't know if you can stuff the stat sheet that much, and that feels like a Fred Warner stat line at this point. So Azeez Al-Shaair, amazing game from you, buddy. And the one thing that I took away from the clip that I posted on Twitter today was, after the interception, I implore you guys to go find that tweet and find that clip. Look at D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans is jumping up and down like a kid, and that sort of excellent, show of emotion goes to show how much he's pulling for his linebackers. Former linebacker D'Amico Ryans, that's no news to you guys, but I love that, because that's a lot of what people jumped on with Robert Saleh, was that sort of emotion. Looks like he's pulling for his guys. Azeez Al-Shaair is playing well and getting better as he gets more reps. I'm so happy for the kid, man.
Adam, haven't seen your name too much. We've said it before with PFF. Don't take it as the Bible, man. It's a good jumping off point,
I don't know,
but a
man.
lot of those grades are subjective.
I don't know what
Very
they see, and real quick, I'll give you the PFF spiel because I was able to pull the curtain back. I was able to do data collection for them. I understand how the grading works. So basically, what happens is what I did was data collection. So basically, they send you the film, and what you do is you place each player in their right place. Meaning, you could be a right tackle, or a left linebacker, or an OLRB. They have different ways to put it. So what you do is when you line all those up, they send it to the people who grade it. Now the grading scale is -2 to +2. Meaning a -2 is the equivalent of a red zone interception, and a +2 is the equivalent of a helmet throw to what's the guy's name, David Tyree from Eli Manning. So you can get anywhere from every play from -2 to 2. What I want people to realize is that it's very subjective. What you see on a play and you gave somebody a 0, I might give them a 1. I might give them a -1. And then what happens is when you're done with your grading, you send that all to PFF. They have their board of former scouts and coaches who aggregate the score, and that's how they come up with it. I hope that makes sense and is concise enough for people to understand.
Yeah, and like as I said, I think it's a good place to start a conversation with. I don't think it should be held as a stat that we carry a ton of weight in. That's just kind of our take, and it's something we've said before. This isn't a new thing. We've said it in the past, so that's really where we stand on PFF. But if you what's weird is like if you look at his just game stats, he led the team in tackles. He had the interception, he had the fumble recovery. Like he had a very, very good game. Adam, we try and teach people things here. We thank you. We appreciate the questions and all that, and we try and answer best we can. But yeah, man, Aziz was the guy, and it's really fun because people have been going back on their like 2018 53-man. There's a fly flying around. I don't know if you can tell. The going back on their 53-man projections from like 2018, saying like, "There's no way Aziza makes this roster," and now it's like he's a large part of this defense. So never stop grinding, kids, because you never know when it's going to click.
Right. And what he said in the press conference also as well, too, was he got back to having fun and he got back to doing the things that got him in the league. And that sounds a lot like something Fred would say. And I think that all that stuff is there. When I saw him in training camp, he looked like he had an extra gear. I kept saying to Jordan when we were there, man, like, did you see Al-Shaair when he's like, yeah, man, like he looks very good, and it's translated onto the field, man. I could not be happier for the kid. And right now, this game, if you weren't a believer before, or if you had your reservations, I think that those kind of go out the window, because without those impact plays that he made, this game probably goes a different way.
Exactly. The Seahawks currently lead 7-3, halfway or 4 minutes left in the second quarter. If you wanted your Monday Night Football update, Jason, I think that's all I have today. I think that's all you had today.
No.
Wait, what are we complaining about?
Nothing complaining about. I mean,
what are we talking about?
I want to talk to you guys about how excited you should be for this team to be in this position with this game coming up, and how we couldn't have envisioned this weeks ago, right? Like it almost felt impossible for this to happen. But the fact remains, this team is 4 wins out of 5, 3 straight, and they are in the driver's seat for a playoff position, 1 game behind the Los Angeles Rams, with a chance to take the 5th spot. Think about that. Think about what was said after Colt McCoy comes in and whips this team. And for anybody who is still upset about, they're not playing Trey Lance, they're wasting.
Stop.
Enjoy the ride. Enjoy these games. The 49ers are winning games, and that is it. I mean, it doesn't matter. I am a big I'm a big process over results guy.
Yeah.
But in this case, if it results in a win, I don't care how it happens. I don't. Yeah. Whether it's 40 runs, 40 throws, whether they punt the ball every time and just get fumbles on every single play, I don't care. Score more points than the other team, and that is the mantra of the Sprint Right Option podcast. Seems like people are having a tough time with that one in our YouTube comments. They don't really get what the joke is, but yeah.
Hey, man. Per Jesse Rodriguez stats and info, 6-0 when they score more points than their opponents.
That's it, man. I mean, the hard-hitting analytics. But I just want to say, like, you should be enjoying this right now, because this is fun. Not only is this the biggest win of the season, it's going to be going into a chance to have the biggest win of the season, which that doesn't make any sense. And also that could doubly effectively end an era in Seattle. Exercise the demons. Like, this is like, enjoy this week. This is a fun ass time right now, and this is not the time to get bogged down into what you think should be happening with the team or how they should be winning games.
Yeah, perfectly said, Jason Aponte. Perfectly said. And yeah, man, like you could go back. Like I endorse, I implore people, go back and listen to Jason and I what we were saying after the Arizona game against Colt McCoy. Dylan, stop it. Dylan's just trying to start fights right now. And I love Dylan. That's all sarcastic. I forget where I was at, but yeah, go back and listen to the episode after the Niners lose to Arizona. The Colt McCoy game, not the first one, and listen to our voices and listen to just how tired we were of that game and how we didn't want to talk about it to now, how excited we are to talk about this team. And that's all we really could ask for at this point is something. Listen, we can nitpick all of Jimmy's bad throws in the first half, but if you're being honest, you also got to celebrate the very good throws he made at the end of the first half and in the second half. So that's where I'm at with it, because obviously a lot of that stuff stems from the quarterback position. But let's have fun. Niners 6-5. They've won 4 of 5. They're going up to Seattle, the last place Seattle Seahawks. And we're probably going to have fun with that episode on Friday, because it's not too often we get to talk about the last place Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, it's Seattle week.
It is Seattle week. And Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. That was a deep breath.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.